Okay, it has been quite a while since you've heard my voice on this channel. Hello, it's the Professor of Thrones here. I'm back. I have been hiding in a cave for the past 2.5 years, regretting all of my life's decisions. And then I heard whispers, hushed discussions of a Game of Thrones prequel show, something called House of the Dragon. So I thought, maybe it's time for me to return, and sure enough, I'm back. This is a video I've wanted to make probably for like a year and just didn't know when to come back and return to make this video, so I'm doing it now. House of the Dragon comes out in a month. I'll say right now I'm going to be covering it. I will discuss in a future video how I'm going to be covering it, but this is not House of the Dragon related. This is in fact related to the main A Song of Ice and Fire book series. Today I'm going to be composing a tier list of all of the most popular Song of Ice and Fire theories. Now, how I've broken this down is quite different than it was set up originally. I've created tiers that are as follows. Canon means I 100% think this is fact. I think this is part of the story. And, this is, in my opinion, what is happening / going to happen in the series. Possible means it's likely that it could happen, but not 100%. It might happen. Who knows? Unlikely means it's most likely not going to happen, but there's still a chance that it might, as minimal as it might be. Meme, it's so ridiculous and it's just a bit and it's not going to happen. And not familiar with are for theories that I've never heard of and don't know what they are. So I'm going to give a little bit, we're going to be here all day if I give a huge explanation on each, but I'll give a little quick explanation on each as I go, and just to catch you up. If you haven't read the book, some of this might not make a lot of sense, but I'm going to try my best to make it sort of understandable. If you're just a show watcher, just for context, seasons 1 through 4 of the show and books 1 through 3 are roughly the same, but when season 5 of the show hit and book 4 started, they kind of splintered off into two separate ways, and the book series is not finished. There are 5 books out right now. There are going to be 7 total. The show, of course, is finished disastrously. But yeah, I'll dive right in here. Jojen Paste. So in book 5, A Dance with Dragons, Bran is in the Cave of the Three-Eyed Raven. Similarly to the show, he is fed this paste that helps him helps him time travel, essentially. And the theory is that this paste is the ground-up flesh or blood of Jojen Reed, who has been missing for quite some time at this point in the story. Fucked up, but I think it's canon. I 100% think this is what happened. Makes so much sense. There's so much mystery on blood sacrifice in this context. I think it's 100% true. Anyway, Euron assassinated Balon. The show confirmed this to be canon. When Balon was the ruler of the Iron Islands, and when Euron came back, you saw him push off the bridge. In the books, it's a little ambiguous as to whether he did it himself or if it was a faceless man that he hired that did it, but I still think regardless of what avenue he took, it's canon. Alaris equals Sorella. This is a book-exclusive character. So when we know that one of Oberyn Martell's daughters was sent off to learn some things and do some mysterious stuff. We don't know where she's at. However, Sam, when he arrives at the Citadel in the books, he meets a quote-unquote boy named Alaris, which is just Sorella spelled backwards, who seems to have the same characteristics as Oberyn's daughter Sorella was described as. So, another one in a row. I think this is canon. 100%. I don't see why it wouldn't be. The names are way too similar, and the descriptions are exactly the same, so whatever. Anyway, Fagon is a Blackfire. This is another book-exclusive theory. Aegon is a quote-unquote Targaryen. He is framed to be one of the sons of Rhaegar Targaryen, who was Daenerys' older brother that we don't see on the show, who died before the events of the series. He had a son named Aegon, who supposedly was killed by the Mountain during the sack of King's Landing during Robert's Rebellion. And this is a theory that, well, so apparently in the books, he was smuggled out by Varys and taken to Essos, where he was trained by Magister Illyrio, who were the same people that financed Daenerys and everything. Sorry, I just zoned out for a second. But anyway, and the theory is that he is not actually who they say he is, and he's actually a Blackfire. The Blackfires are a splinter branch of the Targaryen family that conducted a lot of attempted coups and attempted revolutions against the main Targaryen line throughout history. And there hasn't been one in quite some time. So the theory is that Aegon is not actually Aegon and is actually a Blackfire descendant who has been brainwashed to believe he is Aegon. I think this is canon as well. We're going so many canon theories so far. Yeah, I think this is 100% true. I think that's what's happening here, and it makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Anyway, Daenerys is Azor Ahai. So Azor Ahai, the prince who was promised, is the chosen one who's going to, defeat the Walkers in the Battle for the Dawn and restore peace to the world. Whatever, theory. It's possible. She fits all the descriptions of Azor Ahai, but like you could see the next theory here, Jon also fits those descriptions. I think what's most likely is that we're not going to get a straight answer in the books, and I think it's going to be left up to interpretation whether it was Daenerys or Jon. I think another likely theory that Daenerys is the manifestation of Nissa, who was Azor Ahai's wife, and Jon is the manifestation of Azor Ahai. I also think that's good. So I'm going to put both of these right here in possible, because I think both are very much possible. Unlike this one, Jaime is Azor Ahai. I don't think that makes sense. It's not meme level, but I would say it's very unlikely. Sir Pounce is Azor Ahai. He's a cat that lives in the Red Keep. This is a meme. Stannis is Night Lamp. I don't know if I'm familiar with this theory. Yeah, I can't say I know what this is. Anyway, Jon will be resurrected. The show confirmed this. It seems like George R. R. Martin has confirmed this. He dies at the end of season 5, was it? And at the end of book 5 as well. He's betrayed by his own brotherhood, and he is executed. Yeah, I think this is canon. I don't see how the story could continue without this being canon. This is kind of one of the cruxes of what's going to happen next book, I think. And then I'm going to say Jon will not be resurrected. Very unlikely. There's a chance. There's always a chance with George, but I think it's very unlikely that he won't be. Barbary Dustin wrote the Pink Letter. Not sure I'm familiar with the details of this theory. I know what the Pink Letter is. It's... shit, my screen glitched out for a second. The Pink Letter is the letter that was sent supposedly by Ramsay Bolton, enticing Jon to come down south and fight him. But I don't know the theory that Barbary Dustin wrote, so I'm going to say not familiar with. We got a lot to go. Okay, the Faceless Men caused the doom of Valyria. I think this is canon. Essentially what this theory is that the Empire of Valyria, the Valyrian Freehold, was the most powerful empire in the world at its time. It was destroyed 400 years before the main series. This is where the Targaryens come from. They were the only family to come. One of the Daenerys the Dreamer, who was a Targaryen during the time of the Valyrian Freehold, she had a prophetic vision, quote unquote, that of the Doom of Valyria. So they fled to Dragonstone, and then would later conquer Westeros, and that's why they're the only dragon riders left, because the Valyrian Freehold, who was controlled entirely by dragon riders, was destroyed. So the Faceless Men caused the Doom of Valyria. The Faceless Men, the assassin group that Arya is training with. Yeah, I think this is canon. So what they would have had to do, they would have assassinated the wizards that were keeping the 14 flames in line, because it's said in the World of Ice and Fire textbook that is how that worked. I think it 100% makes a lot of sense. There's hints about it in the main series. I'm going with canon. Said I was going to speed it up. Serial Pharrell is Jack and Hagar. I don't think this is true. Jack and Hagar is the faceless man that Arya met, and it's saying that Serial Pharrell, who was Arya's sword teacher back in season 1 and book 1, at the Red Keep in King's Landing. I don't think they're the same person. Timeline doesn't really line up. There's not the only similarity is that they're from Bravos. I don't think it really works. I'm gonna say very unlikely. Grandmaster Conspiracy. This is so Marwan the Mage, who is a character exclusive to the books as well. He straight up says this. He's kind of kooky, so you don't know how much he is, but it's essentially the theory that the Maesters, in some capacity, had a conspiracy to sort of destroy the dragons to weaken Targaryen power and sort of like bring out magic from the world. I think it's possible. I think that probably it's a mix of multiple elements. I think that obviously the Dance of the Dragons, which the show House of the Dragon is going to be covering, was a huge Targaryen civil war, dragon against dragon, that wiped out most of the dragons. However, I think that part of it could have been, especially later down the line, eggs that wouldn't hatch properly, with like deformed dragons that came out of those eggs, things like that. I think that could have definitely had Maester interference. So I'm going to say possible. Jon is his own father. This is some, brand time travel shit. No, not true. It's a meme. Jaime is the Valonqar. I think this is canon. So there's Cersei has this prophecy that the Valonqar, which is High Valyrian for little brother, will be the one to choke the life out of her, or kill her, essentially. There's the Valonqar is Valyrian is gender neutral language, which means the Valonqar could be little brother or little sister, which also poses to the theory, which I think is second most likely, probably, that it's Arya that's going to kill Cersei. Cersei is on Arya's list, so that makes sense. But I think that's second most likely. But yeah, I think the twist, Cersei thinks it's Tyrion that's going to kill her. I think the twist that it's going to be Jaime. I think that's very poetic, very incredible writing. I think that's canon. Tyrion is a time-traveling Targaryen fetus. This just goes that a lot of the Targaryens that are born sometimes come out deformed or messed up with some dragon features, and that like Drogo, or God, not Drogo. Drogo and Daenerys' baby that came out that was super deformed was actually Tyrion, and then Mary Mazdur sent him forward in time, back in time, whatever. I think this is a meme. I don't think it's true. The White Walkers aren't really evil. Yeah, I think this is possible. I think that no one is really evil in A Song of Ice and Fire. I think everyone is complex, and I think that what likely happen is there's been some breaking of some sort of treaty, or some sort of pact that was created, and that is why the White Walkers are coming back now. Yeah, I think this is very possible. Grand Northern Conspiracy. This is a theory that there's a conspiracy that a lot of the northern houses are currently conspiring against the Boltons to take back Winterfell for the Starks. I'm pretty sure this is canon. There's a lot of hints about it, a lot of house leaders talking sussly. I think it's canon. And I think it's what's going on. Jon is Robb's heir. Am I misremembering? I'm pretty sure this is canon, like explicitly canon in the books, and that Robb declared it, but the paper went missing. But that could just be me remembering a theory. I'm going to say this is canon. R plus L equals J. The show confirmed this to be canon. This is that Jon Snow's parents are Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. Lyanna Stark was Ned Stark's sister, and Rhaegar Targaryen was Daenerys' older brother, not the one from the show, one that died before the show. I always have to clarify that for people. Essentially, the theory is, the whole inciting incident of Robert's Rebellion, that was that Lyanna Stark was betrothed to Robert Baratheon. Rhaegar Targaryen kidnapped her, supposedly, and they he took her to the Tower of Joy, where, when Ned got there, she found Lyanna with a baby. This is canon. This is, there's the popular theory that Ned and Ashara equals Jon. I don't think that's true, and if that's on here, I'll get to why. This is the show confirmed this to be canon. This is true. The question that George R. R. Martin asked the showrunners before they got the rights to the show was who was Jon Snow's parents, and if they got it right, he would give them the rights to the show, and you did that in the show, so it's canon. Sweet Robin is Littlefinger's son, so Lysa Arryn has a sickly little boy. You probably remember from the show. They're saying it's actually a son of Littlefinger and Lysa Arryn. I think this is possible. I don't think it's canon necessarily, but it makes sense. Like, nothing was hinted that Jon Arryn had any issues in terms of fertility and stuff like that. So I think it could be. Sansa's Littlefinger's daughter. I think this is a meme. Sansa is a Stark through and through. Bolton, Roose Bolton is an immortal vampire. I think this is a meme. It's just saying that, Roose Bolton is immortal and sucks the blood of people to stay alive. Not true. House Frey Civil War. I think this is very possible. House Frey is an absolute mess. You remember Walder Frey? He had a ton of kids. And they were all vying for power, all vying for competition. The second that Walder Frey dies in the books, I think it's going to go ape shit and cause so much more chaos for the Riverlands. I think this is canon. Euron Greyjoy equals Daario Naharis. This is a meme, in my opinion. This is not true. They're doing different things in different places at different times in the books. Two completely different characters. Sam has the Horn of Winter. I think this is very possible. If you remember, Sam and Jon found a horn, and the Horn of Winter is supposedly a horn that can bring down the wall. They found it. They found this horn buried underground, up beyond the wall. There's this legendary horn called the Horn of Joramun, or the Horn of Winter. The next book is called The Winds of Winter. I think this is... I don't know if it's necessarily fully canon, but I think it's very possible that Sam is the Horn of Winter. Southern Ambitions. So this is a very, in-depth popular theory. There's hours-long essays and video essays on this. I haven't really dived in too much with the Southern Ambitions theory. I think the general gist of it is that... the Starks were trying to make southern moves in the generation before Robert's Rebellion. I'm going to put it not familiar because I haven't done too much reading on it, but it's a pretty popular theory. Jon will continue living through Ghost. So it seems like what happened is how Jon survived is that right before his dying, he warged into Ghost, who is his direwolf. I think that part of it is canon. I think that's what happened. The last thing he says is Ghost, and right before he dies. I think that's, that part of this canon. I think he'll be resurrected fully. I don't think he'll continue living through Ghost for the rest of the series. So I'm going to say unlikely. R plus J equals T. What is R plus J equals T? I don't know if I know this theory. It might be dumb as fuck for not knowing that. It's, Is it Rhaegar plus Joanna Lannister equals Tyrion? That could be. I'm going to say not familiar with, just to be sure. The poison locusts. Is it who poisoned them? Is that the theory here? Because the poison locust was a thing that happened in the book. Daenerys was at the fighting pits in Meereen, and she was offered these locusts to eat as a snack. And they were poisoned. Strong Belwas, who was one of her assistants or close confidants, who was not in the show, ate them instead. And he has a very strong stomach, so he was able to survive. But if Daenerys would have eaten them, she would have died. I'm not sure what the theory is here, though, because that's just something that happens. Robert Strong is the Mountain. This is canon. The show confirmed it to be canon. So, the Mountain, Qyburn took the Mountain's body and resurrected him as a guard for Cersei. That happened. It's canon. Yeah. Clegane Bowl. This is the theory that, Sandor Clegane and Gregor Clegane, the Mountain and the Hound and the Mountain, respectively, will eventually fight in a trial by combat of some capacity. I'm not sure the exact way the books are going to do this, but I think this is an inevitability. I'm going to say it's canon. Summerhall was to birth dragons. I thought that was explicit. Maybe I'm just misremembering and blending theory and canon in my head. So there's the tragedy at Summerhall, which was essentially this whole ritualistic event that happened at Summerhall, which was a Targaryen summer castle. I think in Dorne. I can't remember exactly where it is in my head. And it failed. There was a huge fire. A bunch of famed people died. But Rhaegar Targaryen was born. And yeah, I 100% think the intention there was to birth dragons, and they misinterpreted the prophecy, and it was actually Rhaegar was the dragon that was born. I think this is canon. I thought it was canon explicitly, but I could just be right. Arbor Gold equals lies. Not sure I'm familiar with this one. Okay, Ned plus Ashara equals Jon. This is the second most popular Jon parents theory. So essentially, Ashara Dane, Ned had a huge crush on her. It's unclear who got her pregnant, but someone got her pregnant, and she supposedly killed herself. The theory is that Ned and Ashara produced Jon. I don't think this is true, but I have another theory that Indie Peak, who's a great Song of Ice and Fire YouTuber I highly recommend checking out, has a theory that Ashara didn't actually kill herself because they never found the body, and that she is actually alive and well in the neck with her true love, Howland Reed, hidden up there in the neck. I think that's canon. But I'm going to say Ned plus Ashara is not canon. Unlikely. It's probably the second most possible / popular Jon parentage theory, but R plus L equals J is what's going to happen. Tyrion is the Valonqar. I think this is too explicit. This is what Cersei thinks is going to happen. I think the twist is going to be Jaime, so I'm going to say unlikely. Quentin Martell is alive. I don't think this is true. So there's another Martell child that's in the books and not the show, named Quentin, and oh my god, I'm blanking on the character's name. Patriarch of the Martell family. Oh my god, holy shit. Oberyn's brother. Oh my god, how am I blanking on the name? Wow. Anyway, he sent Quentin Martell to go court Daenerys and try to get her hand in marriage, to sort of bring back the marriage pact that was initially made between Dorne, House Martell, and House Targaryen. Quentin is rejected, and he wants to leave with something, so he goes to try to take one of Daenerys' dragons, and he's burnt to a crisp. This crux of the theory comes from that he was so burnt that he was almost irrecognizable, and that maybe he actually were alive in place of someone else. I don't think this is true. I think he died. Daenerys will go mad. I fucking hate it. It was done so poorly in the show, with no build-up and development whatsoever. But I think that if George can pull it off over the course of multiple books instead of half an episode, I think it could be happening and could work. So as much as I don't want it to happen, I think it's possible. Ramsay castrated Theon. This is made explicit in the show. I can't remember if it was explicit in the books. I assume not, because, it's on here. So I'm going to say this is canon. Sam is the main character. I do think Sam will be in a sort of Lord of the Rings-esque fashion where, Frodo wrote The Lord of the Rings. I think Sam will be the one to write A Song of Ice and Fire at the end of the series. Sam is also admitted by George R. R. Martin to be a George R. R. Martin self-insert. Is he the main character? No. Every POV character is the main character. There's no main character. One main character. So I'm going to say, unlike... Well, it's canon because every POV character is a main character. Mance Rayder wrote the pink letter. This is another pink letter theory. I think it's a more possible pink letter theory. I don't know if it's necessarily canon. It could just be Ramsey doing it, but essentially, I explained before what the pink letter is. It's that Mance Rayder was executed in the show. In the books, Melisandre, who is currently at the wall, actually used a glamour on Mance Rayder and swapped him with someone else. And Mance Rayder is actually still alive and was sent down to Winterfell to do some snooping, and they're essentially saying that Mance Rayder is the one who wrote the pink letter. I think it's possible. I don't think it's necessarily 100% true, but I think it's like a 50-50 with him, and it could also just be Ramsay, like in the show. Daenerys is a fire white, essentially like a resurrection on the fire side of magic as opposed to the ice side of magic. I don't think this is true. I don't think she ever died. I think there's a lot of magic involved with her birthing of dragons. I don't think she officially died and then came back, though. So I'm going to say this is unlikely. Song of Ice and Fire is a sci-fi / post-apocalyptic story and there is no magic. This is a really cool theory. I don't think it's true. It's essentially saying that there was like a huge natural disaster that happened a long time ago. There's a bit of lore in the World of Ice and Fire history textbook about the Great Empire of the Dawn and this black stone that fell from the sky. There's a lot of stuff about Ashai and Stagai being very uninhabitable, and it could be a nuclear wasteland. There's essentially like a nuclear apocalypse shit. I don't think it's true, but I think it's a fun reading of the text. So I'm gonna say it's unlikely. Well, it's a meme, but New Aegon is legit. I talked about Aegon before. I think he's a Blackfire. I think it's unlikely that he's legit. Robb was given a love potion to marry out of his promised marriage. I don't think this is true. I think it's unlikely. Joffrey had a food allergy and he wasn't actually poisoned. No, it's pretty much canon that it was a conspiracy with Littlefinger and Olenna Tyrell. That's what happened in the show. I think it was almost explicitly said in the books. I think this is a meme. Ned Stark lives on as a pigeon. The theory is that Ned Stark warged into a pigeon right before he was about to be executed. Meme. Not true. He's dead. Robb warged into Grey Wind. I think this is true. I think it's canon. And, well, maybe I'll put it in possible. But essentially, at the Red Wedding, Robb was killed. But then his direwolf came out and killed a bunch of people before being killed itself. So there's a theory that Robb warged into Grey Wind, and that's also foreshadowing for Jon warging into Ghost, his direwolf. I think it's canon, but, there's not enough textual evidence for me to put it in canon. I'm going to have to say possible. Varys is a Blackfire. I'm going to also put this in possible. Varys was the one that created the whole story about how Aegon was Aegon and not a Blackfire, and was doing right now in the books, doing shit behind the scenes and conducting certain assassinations in King's Landing to sort of make the way for young Griff Aegon to take the throne. I think it's very likely that Varys is a Blackfire descendant and is sort of promoting the Blackfire agenda. Weird how big the Blackfire situation is in the books, and it's just not mentioned once in the show. Anyway, Olenna poisoned Joffrey. This is explicit, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's a theory. I think that's what happened. Bloodraven wants to take Bran's body. I think this is very likely. Bloodraven is sus as fuck. He's training Bran, but there's a lot of weird shit about him, and I think he's really trying to... He has a very, very strong agenda, and it might be overall in the grand scheme of things on the side of good, but I think it's more of like a Lovecraftian game side of good, where he'll do anything no matter the cost over time. So yeah, I think it's possible that he wants to take Rand's body, and that's kind of what happened in the show. Ramsey wrote the pink letter. I think this is, you know, I'm going to put it right next to Mance. I think it's 50-50 between whether Mance or Ramsey wrote it. Tyrion poisoned Joffrey. Tyrion was framed for poisoning Joffrey. I don't think that's true. The only way I could see this happening is if Tyrion was, without his knowledge, given a poison thing to pour for Joffrey. But yeah, I don't think it's true. Cersei poisoned Joffrey. This is a meme. There's no fucking way she poisoned her child that she loved so much. Joffrey poisoned himself. He wouldn't kill himself. It's a meme. Anyway, poisoning Joffrey was a group effort. Yes, I think this is canon. I think that it was a collaboration between Littlefinger and Olenna Tyrell. So it's also canon up there with Olenna poisoned Joffrey. Song of Ice and Fire is set in the Lovecraftian universe. A Song of Ice and Fire is a Lovecraftian story in terms of content and style. I don't think it is set in the same fictional universe as H.P. Lovecraft's writings. I think it is style, like I think the overall large scale story is very Lovecraftian though. So I'm gonna say this is not true. But it is, you know, a Lovecraftian story. There's a ton of references to Lovecraft. The Great Other and R'hllor, the Red God, are ripped out of Lovecraft pretty much. It's a very Lovecraftian story. Robert Strong has Jaime's hand making the Valonqar. I've never heard this theory before. I wonder what the textual evidence is. There's probably some that I just don't know about. I'd be interested to reading it. So I don't think it's true, but we'll see. Rhaego is alive. This is Daenerys' like deformed dragon fetus baby that died right away from her and Drogo. Sorry. Yeah, I don't think this is true. Tormund, Giantsbane, and Mage Mormont, that they're going to become a couple in the books. I don't think they've interacted. I can't remember. I don't think this is likely. I don't really know the evidence though. Like I don't know what the evidence for it is. So I'm gonna put it in not familiar with. Joffrey and Tommen are legit. No fucking way. They're Lannisters through and through. No Baratheon blood in them. Yeah, it's a meme actually. There must always be a Stark in Winterfell. Yes. I think this is canon. I think it is essential to the pact between whatever the First Men, Children of the Forest, and the White Walkers. I think it is this is confirmed that there has to be a Stark in Winterfell in order for the pact to make sense. I think it's canon. Stannis Baratheon wrote the pink letter to... Oh, I never heard this one. But right now I'm saying this is interesting because it's essentially maybe enticing Jon to come down with some Night's Watchmen so Stannis could get more numbers so he could take Winterfell. I'm going to say it, you know, I'm hearing this for the first time now. I'm going to say it's unlikely, but it would be cool if it was. Ned plus Cersei Lannister equals Jon? Is that what this is? Never heard that before, but that's a meme. There's no fucking way. Ned but Catelyn Tully equals Jon. Is that Jon's a legitimate child? Catelyn would know she birthed Jon. There's no way. Jon is Azor. Jorah is Azor Ahai. I've never heard this one before. I don't know the evidence. I'm going to say not familiar with, but I'm pretty sure it's not canon. Euron is a fraud. Euron from the books is very different than Euron from the show. Saying he went to Old Valyria and survived. I think it's my bias that I want to believe him. I think that he is an insane Lovecraftian madman, and that he actually knows very powerful magic and is going to conduct very powerful magic in the next book. I don't think he's a fraud. I think that he is an insane, evil Lovecraftian mastermind. I don't know if this is on here, but I actually think he was the first attempt at Bloodraven's first attempt at creating what he's trying to do with Bran. And I think that's canon. But I'm not familiar. I'm going to say he's not a fraud. Unlikely. Lemongate. I made a whole video about this. Watch my video, The House of the Red Door Explained. This is canon in my opinion. Go watch my theory, Has the Red Door Explained, and I explained it all there in like 10 minutes. Rob Ward Catlin. I haven't heard this one. I think it's very unlikely. Essentially, like Rob Ward Catlin at the end of the Red Wedding. No. Roose Bolton is the Rat Cook. This ties in with the theory that Roose Bolton is immortal. The timeline doesn't add up for me. I don't believe Roose Bolton is immortal, so that doesn't work. Red Wedding 2.0. I'm not sure I know this theory. Essentially, there's going to be a second Red Wedding. I don't know who that is intended to be. I'm going to say nothing later. Varys is a merman. This is a meme. It's a meme in the fandom. That's it. Oh, here it is. Euron was a former student of Bloodraven. I think this is canon. Euron is named Crow's Eye. Euron Crow's Eye is something they call Euron. His symbol is a red eye. Bloodraven has red eyes. When Bran is having his first visions with Bloodraven in the first book, you see when he's falling and he sees a bunch of impaled corpses on spikes, and I think it's explicitly said that those are the failed dreamers, people that Bloodraven has tried to recruit and failed. Euron knows a lot of powerful magic and is kind of crazy. I think this is canon. I don't know if they'll ever explicitly say it in the books, but I think they'll hint at it enough that it is canon. Lyanna Stark was the Knight of the Laughing Tree. This is pretty canon. At the Tourney of Harrenhal. Was it the Tourney of Harrenhal? Yeah. There was, this is where all the shit went down and started Robert's Rebellion. There was a knight that sort of, saved Howland Reed from being bullied. I think that was pretty much what happened. And then Rhaegar sent men to find the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and they eventually did find the Knight of the Laughing Tree, I believe. And they haven't, Rhaegar never revealed the identity. I think that's what happened. And, Rhaegar would eventually, quote-unquote kidnap Lyanna Stark. I think this was the start of their love, to be honest, and I think that's canon. The Florence rigged Renly's armor to kill him. No, I'm pretty sure it is explicitly said in the books that Stannis, Melisandre's shadow baby, killed Renly. I'm pretty sure that's canon, that's explicit, so this is, I'm going to say unlikely. Tyrion was the target of the Purple Wedding. No, I'm pretty sure Joffrey was the target. I'm pretty sure it's canon that Olenna and Littlefinger conspired to poison Joffrey. I'm going to say this is unlikely. Mance Rayder equals Arthur Dayne. Two completely different characters in completely different places. This makes no sense. My first initial thing, I'm going to say this is not unlikely. What is this? Oh, this is saying that Arya and Jon were incestuous. This was... I think George has said before that this was his original plan when he was first writing the first draft of the first book, but he didn't go through with it. I think he has said, explicitly he didn't go through with this. I don't think there's any evidence for this textually. I think it's a meme. Mormont's Raven is being warped with Skangekins. I'm pretty sure this is canon. I think Mormont's Raven that's always around, Jorah Mormont, the head of the Night's Watch in the first few books, always says some weird prophetic shit. I'm pretty sure it is Bloodraven trying to communicate with Jon. I'm thinking that's canon. Loras isn't that heard. In the last book there was or was it Feast for Crows maybe? Feast for Crows, so the fourth book. There was news that Loras Tyrell was gravely injured. It's saying that maybe this was a lie to sort of decrease Cersei's suspicions. I think this is possible. I think that he could very well be fine, and they're just saying that Untommen, I'm guessing that Tommen's gonna die. Well, he is gonna die, and that they'll resurrect him or something. I'm gonna say this is a meme. I don't think it's true. This is Varys plus someone is Fagon. I don't think... Oh. Maybe it's someone plus Illyrio is Vagon. I don't know who the other person is in this theory, so I can't really say. I'm going to say nothing. Mountain is a good guy. This is textually not true. He has done horrific atrocities in the canon. This is a meme. Frey Pies. This has happened in the show that Walder Frey's kids were cooked into a pie and he ate them. I'm pretty sure this is canon. I think it's going to happen or has happened. Brandon Rivers is the three-eyed raven. This is literally canon. This is literally in the text. I'm not sure how this is a theory. But yeah, that's the tier list. Okay, we did it. I hope you learned a little bit about some of the fandom's most prominent theories. I'm surprised. I'm going to look into some of the stuff that I wasn't familiar with here. I've been meaning to look into Southern emissions a lot more. I'm definitely planning on doing that. But yeah, if you want to do this, I'll put the link in the description for this tier list. If you want to do it yourself, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. This is like my first video back, so probably a little rough, a little off the cuff, but yeah, this was fun. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.